Hi everyone, good to be back, and today I want to talk to you about what I've learned about working from home and how we can be better managers and help people to get more comfortable with doing it on a consistent basis even after this pandemic is over. I'm a lean practitioner, so a lot of what you will hear me talk is picked up from the lean philosophies and principles. Most of us have the habit of operating from an office workplace. And we have been there, right? So we have been used to it and conditioned to it. And when this pandemic threw us into a situation, most of us were forced into it all of a sudden, and most of us continued to operate working from home in the same way as we were operating from the office environment. Now, there has been a lot of material about this, a lot of literature, and I've read a few of them, and I tried practicing some of them, but some of them did work for me and some of them did not. So what I thought today was to really talk about a few things that I think we should recommend and managers should be using and helping people. So one of the things is about communication, right, with the directs. I think a lot has been spoken about it, and people across the organization, don't understand some of the challenges that we have in India on communication. Before I talk about, there are some things that does not work for us, and some things that managers we can do so that we can make life better, like I said before. And these are based on things that I've heard from people. People have talked. I've spoken to many people across different organizations, and some of these nuances that creep up as we work. It is important for us to understand in India that an average number of people living in a square kilometers is very high, and it's a very dense place to be living. If you live in Mumbai or Kolkata, about 30,000 people live in per square kilometer. So most of families are staying with kids and elderly parents in a two-room flat or accommodation. So there are bound to be distraction and background noises that we have. We don't have separate rooms for us to work. The second thing that I've heard a lot of time is simple things like, we live in joint families with parents and elders. Things like as simple as not having food together in a family it's not just a formality, but there's also an expectation that you kind of sit down, have food with everyone else. In office, you could probably get away with that and you could get your food to the desk and have it, but at home, it poses a significant amount of challenge and creates a certain strains within the dynamics of working at home, right, with your parents and people around. So there are a lot of infrastructure issues. There are a lot of obviously we know about that. We have a lot of power outages or internet down and things like that. But I think I guess that's everywhere. So on the positive side, what happens when employees agree to work from home? Their travel time has drastically gone down. They are able to rechannel this additional time to ensure that their productivity remains the same or actually improves in a lot of cases. This is quite natural because in a city like ours, where I live in Chennai, or if you look Bangalore or Kolkata, you have a minimum travel time of about 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours one way, right? So you'll end up spending at about 3 to 4 hours every day on your commute. This is a huge save, not just for the employee time, but also for straining infrastructure and environment issues within the cities, right? So why do you want to create more pollution? Why do you want to take a car and go? So this is something I think managers and leaders need to understand, how we leverage this whole work from home concepts for a betterment for all of us, both financially and as far as all of our well-being, right, from the people. The pandemic has proven that most organizations already had some kind of technology to let their employees work remotely. But I think what we lacked was the mental readiness or the agility that we needed. But when the situation demanded and then everyone had to work from home, there was no choice, and most companies were able to manage to pivot and make their employees work from home. So what I want to talk also today about is to how to encourage this to stay and continue to deliver, and people continue to deliver optimum performance even though they can continue to work from home. And how do we make it a sustainable model even after the pandemic is over? Why do we all really need to get back to office? We probably can work like this. So one thing I want to talk about is the push-pull communication model. I know a lot have been said about communication, so I'll try and keep this brief, and these are my thoughts that I'm kind of sharing. Communication does not mean having large calls, large meetings, town halls, lot of people coming there, invited, and they have to sit there and listen to people actually talk a lot, right? In reality, most people that I know of kind of hate going to these sessions, right? So, unless there is obviously, relevant, information that people can take away and use. Most of the sessions regularly start with, do you have any questions? And, there's a followed by a large running silence. So none of you have any questions. So let's again catch up in the next 15 days or a month. I'm sure some of you guys have attended these sessions. Some of you have dropped off somewhere in between. Some of you have actually delivered some of the sessions and realized that there's no questions asked by someone. What do we need to do to communicate better and things like that. But for me, the communication for me is that we need to keep communication in a brief and small, right? In this kind of environment where you have distractions, background noises, people working from different parts of the country at different places, right? Not everyone's going to feel comfortable getting on these calls and asking questions, etc. So I would, as a lean practitioner, recommend that you have regular, as a line manager, you need to have daily huddles with the team. Keep it short, keep it brief, like we say in lean, right? Keep it 15 minutes, like a stand-up meeting. Use something like a round robin or random names. You ask people to talk. You ensure that everyone gets a chance to speak up. And then if there are bigger conversations that you need to have with people on particular topics, do the one-on-ones. And then circulate the meetings and then touch upon that topic as an update in the next day's huddle. Right? So this way, one of the things happens is that the managers have to come prepared to these meetings. They cannot just walk in and have a briefing, right? So you could avoid the long calls. You could use intelligently the emails and chat and allow team members to be able to flexible to read and understand effectively what you have discussed or shared, and that needs to be agreed or shared with different people. If you are a member who has a large organization, then you want to ensure that you kind of set up break up those big meetings into smaller chunks and have coffee sessions, right? Create an environment where people feel comfortable in asking questions. It's safer to ask questions in a smaller group, and have those meetings, those large meetings, only when you want to cascade important information that needs to be taken by everyone. Like I said that before, the other thing that is a challenge is that you are always going to be in a place where there's going to be phones and kids, and so you need to encourage a set of disciplines that you need to kind of cultivate within your team members. Specific things like you should be able to tell and coach people that when they are not talking, mute themselves, right? When they are, or when you are running a meeting, use the technology to mute everyone so that people can speak when they can unmute and then speak, right? When you are out of office, put yourself that you're out of office, so people across the country or across the globe understand that you're not available and you will respond when you get back, right? So they understand that. So I think discipline is one of the most important things that we need to inculcate within our people. The other bit of it is what we call empathy and appreciation. I think sometimes as Asians, we forget that we need to appreciate and recognize people. Right? And for us, recognition as an Indian, I can tell you, for me, recognition is when there's a large event and there's a lot of people and there is a lot of fun. I think that's when we talk about recognition. But I would encourage, and I think it makes sense in an environment like this, is not to take someone who's doing the work for granted. Recognize and empathize with people. Take a few moments as a manager or a leader out every day to find reason why you need to thank our team members, right? Make it small. It could be a simple email to say something well done that specific day, or a chat message, or even a phone call. This will motivate your team members, and they will trust you and know that you genuinely are interested in them, which you will automatically be since you are focused on them, because you have to focus on the work that they do every single day. This will fuel optimism and a lot of work ethics that I was also talking about in terms of discipline. The next one that I want to talk about is what Stephen Covey calls the sharpening the saw. A lot of companies have invested in a lot of e-learning platforms and development of skills for their employees. But even if you're working in a company where it does not have it, it does not really matter. There is enough and a lot of information and knowledge available at very low prices, right? Sometimes free, that's available on the internet. What is important is managers really understand, or leaders understand, what those development opportunities for the team members are. So you can guide them to learn the right skills for the current job and for the future job. Don't get hung up and say, this is AI is the next big thing, or robotics makes next big thing. Everyone goes for robotic training. That may or may not have the aptitude. They may not have the aptitude or interest. Most managers do this because they have not understood the needs of the team members, or have not made themselves aware of the wide variety of skills that could be picked up by and be beneficial to the team and the employees. And sometimes you could also encourage even a non-work related course. Sometimes it gives you the diversity of thought if you do that. The last thing that I would want to talk about, but not the least, and it's one of probably the most important thing, is to examine or re-examine the relationship that you have with your directs and the people that you manage. I call this continuous improvement. This is very important. There's always a scope to improve how you do that, and that is by asking questions and really listening and watching. Use your eyes and ears effectively. See what they're doing, how they're performing, and talk to them and understand them. Again, I wish you all the very best, and thank you for taking this time out to hear me out. Please do provide feedback and have a fantastic day.